Epub is a free and open e-book standard by the International Digital Publishing Forum. Files have the extension Epub. Epub is designed for reflowable content, meaning that an Epub reader can optimize text for a particular display device. Epub also supports fixed layout content. The format is intended as a single format that publishers and conversion houses can use in-house, as well as for distribution and sale. It supersedes the open ebook standard. History: Epub became an official standard of the IDPF in September 2007, superseding the older open ebook standard. In August 2009, the IDPF announced that they would begin work on maintenance tasks of the Epub standard. Two broad objectives were defined by this working group. One set of activities governs maintenance of the current Epub standards, while another set of activities addresses the need to keep the standards current and up to date. The working group expected to be active through 2010, publishing updated standards throughout its lifetime. On April 6, 2010, it was announced that this working group would complete their update in April 2010. The result was to be a minor revision to Epub 2.0.1 that corrects errors and inconsistencies and does not change functionality. On July 2, 2010, drafts of the version 2.0.1 standards appeared on the IDPF website. On April 6, 2010, it was announced that a working group would form to revise the Epub specification. In the working group's charter draft, 14 main problems with Epub are identified, which the group will address. The group was chartered through May 2011, and was scheduled to submit a final draft on May 15, 2011. An initial editor's draft for Epub 3 was published on November 12, 2010, and the first public draft was published on February 15, 2011. On May 23, 2011, the IDPF released its proposed specification for final review. On October 10, 2011, the IDPF announced that its membership had approved Epub 3 as a final recommended specification. In September 2012, ISO IEC JTC1/SC34 re-established ad hoc Group 4 on Epub of IDPF to prepare the creation of a joint working group for Epub. Epub 3 will be submitted as a draft technical specification by the Korean national body via the JTC1 fast-track procedure, and it will be assigned to the SC34/JWG when approved. It is currently under a standardization process under the formal name ISO IEC DTS 30135-1, Information Technology, Digital Publishing, Epub 3, Part 1, Epub 3 Overview. Features: free and open, reflowable and resizable text or fixed layout, inline raster and vector images, embedded metadata, DRM support, CSS styling, support for alternative renditions in the same file, use of out-of-line and inline XML islands to extend the functionality of Epub, support for audio and video content. File format, version 3.0.1. The Epub 3.0 recommended specification was approved on October 11, 2011. Epub 3.0 supersedes the previous release 2.0.1 of Epub. Detailed descriptions of the differences between 3.0 and 2.0.1 can be found on the IDPF website. Epub 3 consists of a set of 4 specifications: Epub Publications 3.0, which defines publication-level semantics and overarching conformance requirements for Epub publications; Epub Content Documents 3.0, which defines profiles of Xhtml, SVG and CSS for use in the context of Epub publications; Epub Open Container Format 3.0, which defines a file format and processing model for encapsulating a set of related resources into a single file Epub container; Epub Media Overlays 3.0, which defines a format and a processing model for synchronization of text and audio. The Epub 3.0 format is intended to address the following criticisms: while good for text-centric books, Epub may be unsuitable for publications that require precise layout or specialized formatting, such as comic books. Also, it has been criticized for trying to solve an already solved problem instead of fixing unsolved problems. A major issue hindering the use of EPUB for most technical publications is the lack of support for equations formatted as MathML. They are currently included as bitmap or SVG images, precluding proper handling by screen readers and interaction with computer algebra systems. Support for MathML is included in the EPUB 3.0 specification. Other criticisms of EPUB are the specification's lack of detail on linking into, between, or within an EPUB book, and its lack of a specification for annotation. Such linking is hindered by the use of a zip file as the container for EPUB. Furthermore, it is unclear if it would be better to link by using EPUB's internal structural markup or directly to files through the zips file structure. The lack of a standardized way to annotate EPUB books could lead to difficulty sharing and transferring annotations and therefore limit the use scenarios of EPUB, particularly in educational settings, because it cannot provide a level of interactivity comparable to the web. On June 26, 2014, the IDPF published EPUB 3.0.1 as a recommended specification. Version 2.0.1, EPUB 2.0 was approved in October 2007, with a maintenance update intended to clarify and correct errata in the specifications being approved in September 2010. EPUB version 2.0.1 consists of 3 specifications. Open Publication Structure 2.0.1 contains the formatting of its content. Open Packaging Format 2.0.1 describes the structure of the Epub file in XML. Open Container Format 2.0.1 collects all files as a zip archive. EPUB internally uses Xhtml or DTBOOK to represent the text and structure of the content document, and a subset of CSS to provide layout and formatting. XML is used to create the document manifest, table of contents, and EPUB metadata. Finally, the files are bundled in a zip file as a packaging format. Open Publication Structure 2.0.1, an EPUB file uses Xhtml 1.1 to construct the content of a book as of version 2.0.1. This is different from previous versions, which used a subset of Xhtml. There are, however, a few restrictions on certain elements. The MIME type for Xhtml documents in EPUB is application Xhtml plus XML. For a table of the required Xhtml modules and a description of the restrictions, see Section 2.2 of the specification. Styling and layout are performed using a subset of CSS 2.0, referred to as OPS style sheets. This specialized syntax requires that reading systems support for only a portion of CSS properties and adds a few custom properties. Custom properties include OWebPage head, OWebPage foot, and OWeb column number. Font embedding can be accomplished using the add font face property, as well as including the font file in the OPF's manifest. The MIME type for CSS documents in EPUB is text CSS. For a table of supported properties and detailed information, see Section 3.0 of the specification. EPUB also requires that PNG, JPEG, GIF, and SVG images be supported using the MIME types image PNG, image JPEG, image GIF, image SVG plus XML. Other media types are allowed, but creators must include alternative renditions using supported types. For a table of all required MIME types, see Section 1.3.7 of the specification. Unicode is required, and content producers must use either UTF-8 or UTF-16 encoding. This is to support international and multilingual books. However, reading systems are not required to provide the fonts necessary to display every Unicode character, though they are required to display at least a placeholder for characters that cannot be displayed fully. An example skeleton of an Xhtml file for EPUB looks like this. Open Packaging Format 2.0.1, the OPF specification's purpose is to define the mechanism by which the various components of an OPS publication are tied together and provides additional structure and semantics to the electronic publication. This is accomplished by two XML files with the extensions OPF and Ncx. OPF file, the OPF file, traditionally named Content OPF, houses the EPUB book's metadata, file manifest, and linear reading order. This file has a root element package and four child elements: metadata, manifest, spine, and guide. All of these except guide are required. Furthermore, the package node must have the unique identifier attribute. The OPF file's MIME type is application no eBPS package plus XML. The metadata element contains all the metadata information for a particular EPUB file. 3 metadata tags are required: title, language, and identifier. Title contains the title of the book, language contains the language of the book's contents in RFC 3066 format or its successors, such as the newer RFC 4646, and identifier contains a unique identifier for the book, such as its ISBN or a URL. The identifier's ID attribute should equal the unique identifier attribute from the package element. For a full listing of EPUB metadata, see section 2.2 of the specification. The manifest element lists all the files contained in the package. Each file is represented by an item element, and has the attributes id, of, media type. All Xhtml, style sheets, images or other media, embedded fonts, and the Ncx file should be listed here. Only the OPF file itself, the container XML, and the MIME type files should not be included. Note that in the example below, an arbitrary media type is given to the included font file, even though no MIME type exists for fonts. The spine element lists all the Xhtml content documents in their linear reading order. Also, any content document that can be reached through linking or the table of contents must be listed as well. The TOC attribute of spine must contain the ID of the Ncx file listed in the manifest. Each item element's IDref is set to the ID of its respective content document. The guide element is an optional element for the purpose of identifying fundamental structural components of the book. Each reference element has the attributes type, title, of. Files referenced in IF must be listed in the manifest, and are allowed to have an element identifier. A list of possible values for type can be found in section 2.6 of the specification. An example OPF file. Ncx file. The Ncx file, traditionally named TOC Ncx, contains the hierarchical table of contents for the EPUB file. The specification for Ncx was developed for Digital Talking Book, is maintained by the DAISY Consortium, and is not a part of the EPUB specification. The Ncx file has a MIME type of application XDTB Ncx plus XML. Of note here is that the values for the doc title, doc author, and meta name equals DTB, WID elements should match their analogues in the OPF file. Also, the meta name equals DTB, depth element is set equal to the depth of the nav map element. Nav point elements can be nested to create a hierarchical table of contents. Nav labels content is the text that appears in the table of contents generated by reading systems that use the Ncx. Nav points content element points to a content document listed in the manifest and can also include an element identifier. A description of certain exceptions to the Ncx specification as used in EPUB can be found in section 2.4.1 of the specification. The complete specification for Ncx can be found in section 8 of the specifications for the Digital Talking Book. An example Ncx file. Open Container Format 2.0.1. An EPUB file is a group of files that conform to the OPS/OPF standards and are wrapped in a zip file. The OCF specifies how to organize these files in the zip, and defines 2 additional files that must be included. The MIME type file must be a text document in ASCII that contains the string application Epub plus zip. It must also be uncompressed, unencrypted, and the first file in the zip archive. This file provides a more reliable way for applications to identify the MIME type of the file than just the Epub extension. Also, there must be a folder named meta-inf, which contains the required file container XML. This XML file points to the file defining the contents of the book. This is the OPF file, though additional alternative root file elements are allowed. Apart from MIME-type and meta-inf container XML, the other files are traditionally put in a directory named OEBPS. An example file structure: zip container, MIME-type, meta-inf / container XML, OEBPS / content opf, chapter 1 Xhtml, ch1pic png, css / style css, myfont.otf. An example container XML, given the above file structure. Digital rights management: an EPUB file can optionally contain DRM as an additional layer, but it is not required by the specifications. In addition, the specification does not name any particular DRM system to use, so publishers can choose a DRM scheme to their liking. However, future versions of EPUB may specify a format for DRM. The EPUB specification does not enforce or suggest a particular DRM scheme. This could affect the level of support for various DRM systems on devices and the portability of purchased ebooks. Consequently, such DRM incompatibility may segment the EPUB format along the lines of DRM systems, undermining the advantages of a single standard format and confusing the consumer. When present, DRM-ED EPUB files must contain a file called rights.xml within the meta-inf directory at the root level of the zip container. Validation: an open-source tool called Epub check exists for validating and detecting errors in the structural markup as well as the Xhtml and image files. The tool can be run from the command line, or used in apps and applications as a library. A large part of the original work on the tool was done at Adobe Systems. Software reading systems: the following software can read and display EPUB files. See also the Wikipedia category for articles about EPUB readers. Editing systems, hardware reading systems. Most dedicated ebook readers support the EPUB format, although the Amazon Kindle line of devices is a notable exception. EPUB reading software is also available for all modern smartphones. Devices that support EPUB include: see also, comparison of ebook formats, Open Packaging Convention, XML paper specification, references. External links: EPUB3 homepage includes links to EPUB Working Group project site and issue tracker. EPUB2 Maintenance Wiki homepage archive for the maintenance discussions and issue tracking for EPUB development that led to EPUB 2.0.1 approved in 2010 and EPUB3 in October 2011. EPUB Format Construction Guide, video, format overview of the Epub file. Publisher Tim O'Reilly explains the importance of EPUB. Build a digital book with EPUB from IBM Developer Works. File extension EPUB, software that support EPUB files, EPUB tooling in the Eclipse project, EPUB3 support grid from BISG.